let's first go through some of the key points that were made on day 2 of the arguments in the 377 case, which the Supreme Court is currently hearing. So what the court is looking at is whether India should decriminalize gay sex, scrap Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code. And what the Chief Justice said today could be path-breaking. The Chief Justice has said that we intend to rule, subject to arguments, that two consenting adults, even if engaged in unnatural sex, which is how the law defines it, will not be liable for prosecution for any offence. Here is what some of the other arguments were in court today. There was the petitioner's lawyer, Menika Guruswamy, who said, "My lords, this is love that must be constitutionally recognized, and that this is not something that is just a sexual act." Justice Chandrachud, who is also on this bench, said it should not come to a situation where two homosexuals enjoying a walk on the Marine Drive are disturbed by the police. We want to protect the relationship. That is what Justice Chandrachud said. He also said, we want relationships to be protected from moral policing. That is what he said on the bench. And finally, there was Sham Devan, also one of the lawyers for the petitioners, who said that Section 377 creates second-class citizens and that LGBTQ people are forced to be invisible, go underground, depriving them of freedom of expression.
What the court said today holds out hope to the LGBT community. The court could end almost 160 years of discrimination against sexual minorities, especially after the centre backed out from taking a stand on scrapping 377, which criminalizes gay sex.
It's love, actually. Today, in a major breakthrough for freedom of choice and sexual orientation, the centre said it will not oppose the scrapping of an archaic section of the law, Section 377, brought by the British in 1861, outlawing quote-unquote unnatural sex, and still a law nearly 2 centuries later. This is a huge change in stand by the BJP-led government, whose MPs have blocked the introduction of bills in Parliament over this. In court today, Additional Solicitor General Tushar Mehta said the government will neither oppose or support, saying, "We leave it to the wisdom of the court." Another positive indicator are the Chief Justice's strong observations today. Chief Justice Misra said, whether it should remain as a crime, we will deal with it. While responding to arguments on discrimination in jobs against homosexuals, he said, if there are any such service conditions, it will go once we hold 377 unconstitutional. Chief Justice Misra also said that natural inclinations of people vary and that constitution is not for the protection of any one type of inclination. Activists have argued this is not a battle for gay rights but human rights.
This petition is about our lives, basically. I mean, we are subjugated so much because of only sexual orientation and nothing else. And that is not right. And I hope the judges will see that, judges will understand the pain we have been going through.
In 2009, in a major judgment by Justice A.P. Shah of the Delhi High Court, the court said it was unconstitutional. The Congress-led government at the time opposed scrapping it. But the Supreme Court made it a crime once again in 2013, saying it was up to Parliament to legislate this. The then Congress-led government asked the court to review this, but that was also rejected the following year. Then, in a surprise decision, the current Chief Justice decided the Supreme Court would review its own verdict. However, the hearing now goes beyond the ambit of just the sexual act, as Justice Chandrachud pointed out to the government. When the issue of gay marriage came up, the centre said they could not agree to this and it wasn't part of the case. But Justice Chandrachud said that the court will examine the relationship between two consenting adults under the fundamental right to life and personal liberty. It will focus on what it called the nature of relationship and not marriage, etc. Menika Guruswamy, lawyer for the IIT students petitioning the court, talked of the apartheid faced by the LGBT community. She said one of them couldn't join the IAS despite clearing the exam. Another one faced discrimination by a notary over signing his affidavit. Prompting the Chief Justice to respond, he would have asked the notary here to sign it. The court made it clear there's no rule prohibiting employment of LGBTs.
The ban on homosexuality has no place in the modern world, as many Western nations have noted. India currently shares this dubious status with the likes of Russia and China. Pakistan even has the death penalty, but it's rarely enforced, unlike Saudi Arabia and Sudan. In New Delhi, Arunachalam Vaidyanathan, NDTV.
And the question we're really looking at today, as we're actually on the cusp of what could be a really historic judgment, is whether over the years our political class in particular has disappointed the LGBT community, has really disappointed in the sort of wishy-washy stands that they have taken. If you remember, Shashi Tharoor was trying to move a private member's bill on decriminalising homosexuality in Parliament. That was in 2015. And almost the entire Lok Sabha, mostly led by BJP MPs at that time, sort of rallied against him and said a resounding no. But there have, apart from a few leaders from various parties, even in the BJP, who have spoken out over the years and said that no, this is wrong, this should be decriminalized, there has never been a clear stand that has been taken. And joining us today, we have Anvesh Pukuluri, who is a petitioner in the case, in the 377 case. China NC of the BJP is joining us tonight. Mohammad Khan of the Congress. Filmmaker Onir joins us from Mumbai today, and Karun Anandi, advocate of the Supreme Court, joining us shortly. And Onir, let me take that question to you first. That would you say that it has been a resounding disappointment? For instance, today, I know a lot of people first reacted with great joy, saying, oh great, the centre has said it's not going to oppose or support the scrapping of 377. They've left it to the wisdom of the court. My instant reaction to that was, well, I wish they had taken a stand and said in court that this is an archaic law that should be scrapped. How do you feel?
Absolutely. I feel that it would have been such a progressive step for the government at this point, when knowing that after the personal law case came up, that it is something that the Supreme Court hopefully, and I feel extremely hopeful, will scrap 377, that the centre could have taken a stand. Having said that, at the end of it, I'm still glad that it didn't oppose it, but it would make so much of a difference if we had the support of the centre, the government. That is important, because this is just one step towards a larger acceptance which has to happen, which is long overdue in this nation.
Well, let me take that to Anvesh, who is sitting here. What are your thoughts on that? Did you feel disappointed that a stronger, clearer stand was not taken by the government on this? This was a great chance to do that.
I don't know if we can comment really on this, because honestly, I don't think we understood the affidavit filed by the government in its entirety, and I don't think we are qualified enough to comment on this.
Understood in what way? Why?
In the sense that, yeah, I noticed that the government said that it leaves it up to the wisdom of the court, but I don't think I understood it in its entirety, and we will look at.
Okay, but as someone who is a petitioner in this case, would you not have wanted to see political parties across the board over the years take a stronger stand on this issue?
Honestly, I don't think we really expected anything on this front. We were just taking the legal route.
Okay. Let me take this back to Shaina NC. Shaina, you are someone who has been brave enough to speak out in your own party, saying that that 377 should be scrapped. The BJP, though, itself has had very confusing positions. Arun Jaitley has said it should be scrapped. Piyush Goyal has said it should be scrapped. But Rajnath Singh says that no, we cannot decriminalize homosexuality. So there's been this sort of very confusing signals that have come in from the BJP over the years about where the party stands. Where does it stand as a party?
Well, in any democracy, you're bound to have two opinions, and one being that yes, we must keep the institution of marriage intact. There is a certain belief that marriage is for procreation, etc. And a lot of us subscribe to that. Now, can we dismiss or say that there is no LGBT community? We'd be stupid to do so. So I think whether it's Arun Jaitley's comment or other senior leaders who have said we need to decriminalize and do away with an 18th century archaic law which views the LGBT community as people who are doing wrong or who are immoral, I think the time has come to speak up, and I'm glad that the honorable courts have taken a decision to view this in totality as two consenting adults and what they choose to do in their private space. Having said that, I mean, I think it's perfectly normal for a lot of India that believes that there is a sanctity and a sacredness to the institution of marriage, procreation, etc., and for a conservative mindset that 99% of India has, to say that, you know, we do not want to face this in the eye. So there has been a little bit of hypocrisy. And Nidhi, I'm shocked that when you talk about Shashi Tharoor and you said BJP MPs were opposing his private member bills, you chose to forget that the Congress opposed it the most. I mean, don't forget Ghulam Nabi Azad's comment, or for that matter his own party, that chose to completely not engage in a mature dialogue.
No, I'm talking about the day Shashi Tharoor stood up in the Lok Sabha and wanted this private members bill to go through, and you had MPs like Nishikant Dubey who led the BJP charge there in the Lok Sabha. I remember that day. Shouting it down and basically saying that no, we shouldn't vote for this. But Shaina, let me ask you that firstly, how do you quantify that 99% of India is conservative? I mean, how do we know that? How do you know that?
Sorry, how do you know?
That 99% of India is conservative.
You'll have to repeat that.
How would you know that 99% of India is conservative?
Well, a lot of India is conservative. No, 1 minute. Assume it's not 99% and it's 90%, but still it is a huge part of India that believes in a thought process which is family oriented and maintaining the crux of family structure and keeping that as a part of our so-called cultural heritage. Now, you may want to refute that. All I am saying is that different types of people need to coexist. I may not subscribe to the LGBT community's thought process, but I need to understand that I need to respect them, because in the 20th century and in 2018, we have a community which is emerging and talking and speaking and wanting themselves protected. But please do not forget, in 2015, when this issue was not even this heated up, Prime Minister Modi said that we need to review the law vis-a-vis transgenders, and we need to be discussing this in Parliament. So I don't think that, contrary to what people are trying to project, we are not a regressive party. We are a conservative party, but at the same time we respect and assimilate segments and sections of society and their thought process.
If that
are
was
we
the
ready
case,
for a larger debate?
Okay.
I'm sure that in the times to come we can, but not immediately, because there is a certain hypocrisy in our society.
Okay. Before I come to Mohammad Khan of the Congress and Karuna, and only that's exactly what I want to ask, because Shaina made the point that the Prime Minister said that this is something that should be discussed in Parliament. And he's right. It should have been discussed in Parliament. This is something which is why the Supreme Court, even when it overturned the Delhi High Court ruling in 2013, said if for Parliament to legislate on this, it shouldn't have had to have come to the Supreme Court. It should have been India's parliamentarians standing up and saying this is an archaic nonsense law, let's throw it out. But Parliament failed us. It didn't do it on it.
I also agree. Another thing I just wanted to quickly comment about is when we are talking about if 90% of India does not support something, does not mean that we keep quiet, because even if you look at how women are treated, a huge section of the population might not support the way, be it in terms of child marriage, dowry, lot of things. But as a progressive society, the government and political parties have to take a stand for it, and that's why I think it has been really sad and delayed after 2013 that nothing has happened for so many years. The political parties, whoever, has not really taken it up to change things for the lives which affect a lot of people. In a democracy, it is not about 1% or 50%. Each of us are entitled for equality, freedom and respect.
Absolutely. And Mohammad Khan, yes, I remember that, the Congress did come out finally, the leadership came out and took a strong stand on 377. But even the Home Ministry under the UPA, after this whole thing was decriminalized by the High Court, had prepared a note saying that India was not ready to embrace the idea of legalizing gay sex. So even the Congress and the UPA have had very, very wishy-washy positions.
Well, I agree. But first I want to respond to Ms. Shaina NC. Ms. NC's argument about the fact that somehow this will act as an impediment to the institution of marriage, to having children, sounds absurd and baffles me. I don't know, is there a crowd of homosexual men who prevent people from getting married or break up marriages? Last I heard, there are people in your side who tend to do that, but not any on this side. Second, I want to tell you this. She spoke about the transgender bill. I'm so glad she did that. She said Prime Minister Modi stood up in 2015 and said that. Do you know, there is a person, there is a member of parliament called Shiva, Tiruchi Shiva, who moved a private member's bill on transgenders. They shouted it down, they didn't allow it to pass, whereas the bill in the Rajya Sabha got our resounding support. So Shaina ji, there is indeed a certain degree of hypocrisy when you guys approach this topic. Number 3, Nidhi ji, you're right, they have a historic opportunity today. Courts cannot legislate. They can declare something to be constitutional or unconstitutional, and that was what Justice Misra said he would do today.
Do you regret that the UPA didn't do it? Do you regret that the UPA didn't do it?
No, because we didn't get the chance. Nidhi ji, 2009, Nas Foundation judgment comes out.
Why did the Home Ministry under the UPA also said India is not ready for it?
Do you know who appealed it?
You didn't appeal against the High Court.
Ultimately,
that is an important thing.
The decision that was taken by the leadership at that time was, we will not appeal the Nas Foundation decision, we will celebrate it. It was filed by a guy called Suresh Kumar Kaushal, whose judgment was declared on December of 2013, a couple of months before the Model Code of Conduct came into force, and in May there was a new government. It was their remit. The ball fell to them. And I just want to say this, so that there's no doubt, because you use the word that certain parties have been wishy-washy. I want to be very clear. In 2013, when the Supreme Court judgment came out, you know what Sonia Gandhi ji said? And there is no higher person, office bearer in our party than Sonia ji. Correct? She may give the examples of other people like Arun Jaitley and X, Y, and Z and Ghulam Nabi Azad Sahab, but Sonia Gandhi ji had this to say in the clearest of terms, two sentences. I am disappointed that the Supreme Court has reversed a previous Delhi High Court ruling on the issue of gay rights. The High Court has wisely removed an archaic, repressive and unjust law that infringed on the basic human rights enshrined in our Constitution. The Constitution has given us a great legacy, a legacy of liberalism and openness that enjoin us to combat prejudice and discrimination of any kind. This was part of a larger statement, and that is our party position since December 2013, since 2009. We've stood shoulder to shoulder with this cause. So it would be disingenuous of Shaina ji to lump us with her and say that, you know, we are the same.
Karuna Nandi,
we're very different.
Nandi, what's your take on the centre's position on this today? Do you feel that this was an opportunity for the centre to take a stand, or that politics just came in the way?
Let us look at what else the centre has done today. They have said that the adultery law is something that must be upheld.
That's true.
The adultery law, let's be clear, is not something that is in favour of women. It's something that treats women as property. They are opposing us in the marital rape case, saying that they want to protect the institution of marriage on affidavit. They want to protect the institution of marriage by allowing rape not to be criminal in marriage, allowing people to rape in marriage. So, look, the not saying that they are not going to oppose the decriminalisation of voluntary intercourse between consenting adults is a pretty limited position to take. However, what I'd like to focus on, and but honestly, I'm not convinced I expect so much more, because I think the centre's stand on a variety of these issues depends on their conception of Indian morality. You very rightly asked, who is India? India is a spectrum of sexuality, of gender identity, of sexual orientation and of gender expression. Let us be completely clear about that. India is not just men and women who, fall within two particular categories and don't see that spectrum, right? And the second point is that the constitutional courts exist, their very existence, right, is to protect the single person whose fundamental rights are violated. So today, I think, let us focus on that. Because today what the centre has said is that they are okay with the decriminalisation, and so therefore there is no opposition to that. So that is something that I think has been argued repeatedly in courts and has been submitted, is something that must be done, and it is possible after the Puttaswamy case, where 5 judges said that it must be done, that this five judge bench will do it. But I also think that it is an extremely important opportunity to lay down a declaration of rights under Article 15, primarily under Article 15, saying that sex includes a range of we already have the Nalsa judgment, which says that sex encompasses gender identity. We already have the Anuj Garg judgment, which talks about discrimination under Article 15, but if they really flesh it out, and if they really sort of lay down the principles of non-discrimination in the absence of a legislation, that we haven't had a legislation in the 70 years of
That's
Parliament,
an interesting point.
then I think this would be a real step
There's
forward.
something that China said earlier, which that I've actually circled because I was noting it down. Because China, you talked about Indians believing in the family structure. What is the family structure? I mean, what is family? Is it now time for us to look at family through a very different prism? I mean, a gay couple is a family. A gay couple with a child is a family. Are those not families? I mean, do we now need to rethink what this definition is of family?
Well, a certain segment of society is entitled to view it differently if they choose to, but looking at our cultural heritage, the fact that you have man and woman who marry each other with a commitment to procreate and to procreate for a better country, for a stronger nation, for a stronger family structure, it's not something that you can just dismiss because you want to be this liberal. I'm not saying don't be liberal. You can clearly do away with an archaic 18th century law that talks about criminalizing people because of their choices of who their partners are, whether they belong to the same sex or different, is a matter of personal choice. But I don't think it is for the government to comment on every single issue. As
It's not just an issue though.
Today, and I
it's an issue of fundamental rights. It's an issue of fundamental rights
to the
of an entire community.
Intelligence and the maturity of the honorable courts to decide what they deem is
No,
fit.
it actually should be the responsibility of Parliament. It should be the responsibility of Parliament, not the courts. It should have been the responsibility.
Hear me out,
No,
Nidhi.
but Shaina, can I ask you, when
Hear
you say
me out,
about our
Nidhi.
cultural heritage, do
If
you know
have
how
a
many gay
petition
people
which
there
is
were
in
since
court,
ancient India?
and if the honorable courts feel that, if the honorable courts feel, I'm not going into some kind of a competition with you on numbers as to how many people are gay or how many people should be gay or belong to a LGBT community vis-a-vis a normal structure. This is not the debate. The debate is you have a petitioner who has gone to the honorable courts and talked about decriminalising. I think you need to salute the government that we have left it to the discretion of the courts. You've had senior leaders
No,
like
I
Mr.
don't.
Arun Jaitley
I'm
clearly
sorry,
speaking
I'm
out.
sorry,
You've
I
had
don't.
Nitin
I
Gadkari
think
speak out
all of
yesterday,
Parliament
where
has
he
failed
has
us.
said
All
clearly
of
that
Parliament and
consenting
all of our
adults, it
MPs
is
have
not the
failed us.
space of
All of
Parliament
Parliament
to
should
do
have been
so,
the ones
or to
striking down
discuss.
377. It's not some big favor the government has done today in court by saying
That
we're not
could
going
be
to take
your
a stand on it. But Anvesh has a point to make here. Yeah.
So I just want to address the point that she made about nation building, and our petition, especially the petition by the LGBT IITians, we address this through our petition that we have been to best institutions, academic institutions in the country, and we've been working with best organizations, and we are contributing to the nation development in our own right, and she should identify, notice this.
No, so you don't need to procreate with a woman to then therefore
Right, I mean nation building and what we do are completely different concepts.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Sorry, Mohammed
But you
Khan,
cannot dispute. You cannot, as I may not subscribe to your viewpoint, you cannot disagree with my conservative viewpoint.
I'm
but
just
I am
talking about what nation building we are doing.
I'm giving you the respect to say it's your choice, and I would like to respect you as you should respect my viewpoint too.
That he has,
and that is what India has always been. The diversity of this great country
what is
is
important
that you
in
can
the
have
nation and
multiple
in work.
opinions.
Are you saying
Okay, 1 second. We're all talking at the same time.
And therefore the first is untrue?
No, 1 second. First, Mohammed Khan. Okay.
2 quick points. Shaina ji, progressive, conservative, liberals, you leave these labels at the door when you're elected into office. You're elected to execute a legislative agenda and to take the nation forward. For everybody.
Right?
You're a government
What
for
did you do
everybody,
when
not
you
just
were in
conservatives. Number 2, Shaina ji, I think, by the way, the use of your words, normal versus
please
not
go back
normal,
to
is hugely
2013.
problematic. But
Let
let's
me
put that
refresh
aside.
your
I'm not
memory.
surprised. No, but Shaina ji, I didn't interrupt you. Now, hear me out on this. Look, the job of legislating is yours. That is what the Supreme Court said in the Nalsa versus Union of India judgment in 2014. The Supreme Court, even if it wants to, cannot lay down a law. You cannot stand on this channel or any other, give large statements of rhetoric about how you support. You must take legislative action, strike down 377, lay down a roadmap so these people, and in the words of Mr. Shamdevan, are not treated as second-class citizens. Because, ma'am, the judgment came in December 2013, elections were held 4 months after.
Party leadership and
Ma'am,
read
the
all
model
their
code of
comments
conduct
and
was
read
held.
all their
I'll speak to you in
opinions.
terms you
They
understand,
have
an election
chosen
was
not to
happening,
even
that's why we
address
couldn't
the
legislate.
issue. Here we have gone to the honourable courts and said whatever the honourable courts deem fit, we will respect.
If we were in power, and as we will be post 2019, if you are unable to do this, then I assure you we will take up this legislative baton and take it forward, because we don't see a difference between normal and otherwise.
You didn't do it in 2013.
Ma'am, it happened in December 2013.
Please go back in time and read the comments of Ghulam Nabi Azad and so many other leaders of yours who have termed it unnatural, who have termed it illegitimate. Don't even let me open my mouth. This is not a BJP versus Congress issue. This is a larger sociological issue that exists in society.
It was a legislative impossibility for us to bring any legislation because the Model Code of Conduct came into force, because the judgment came in December 2013. Please take your responsibility forward. You're in government now. Pass a bill. Bring a bill if you have the spine.
Excuse after excuse. When Mr. Tharoor came up with the private member bill, where were your congressmen?
Ma'am, private members' bills are not the same as other bills, and if you were so in support of it, then you in the Lok Sabha, you could have passed the bill. You could have got 272 of your MPs to support it, Shaina ji.
Your party has a majority in the Lok Sabha. They shouted down
nothing barring the UPA from bringing legislation.
No, nothing barred the UPA. That's what I asked. Even earlier, even before the 2013 judgment. Frank, no, but the point is, even after it was decriminalized,
the progressive stand of the Congress.
Because in 2009, Mohammed Khan, when it was when it was decriminalized then by the Delhi High Court, that was actually a great chance to just scrap this off the books.
You're right.
The UPA should have done it.
You're right, absolutely. And as you began the debate by pointing out, we are not the ones who filed the appeal. The next logical step for us would have been to bring a bill, but somebody did file an appeal, and the matter became sub judice. You can see how that would have tied our hands. We, however, went to great pains to clarify our position. We clarified our position repeatedly.
As you know, that's not the way it works. There was nothing barring the UPA at that stage from passing a legislation in any case.
If we had done that at the time, that would have brought in criticism from the BJP.
I think you had the opportunity to do it after 2009, actually, when you actually had a favourable court judgment, and to have gone to Parliament and say, let's strike this off the books. Let me give the last two words two bites to Oneer and to Anvesh. Oneer, to you first. It's very clear from what the Chief Justice has said today that
one is
barring
I still find it extremely disturbing that we are still using words.
Yeah, go ahead, Oneer.
Yeah, I wanted to add.
We are still using words like unnatural, unnatural, and what is not normal, and it's sad that even today these are words that's been used.
Yeah,
and
our whole petition
nothing
is
to do with LGBT rights or Article 377 means that you do not disrespect. No one wants to disrespect the institution of marriage. There is no way that is threatened by giving people who have other choices, other preferences, their rights to live life as normally. So I don't see what is the factor that's threatening the so-called majority of this country.
Well, I'll give the last word to Anvesh here, who is, of course, one of the petitioners.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the same thing. About the usage of word normal.
Bother you.
Yeah, about the usage of word normal. The whole petition is about that we are equal citizens and we are not some others. And we are a variant of sexuality. We are not deviant. I mean, we are just like everyone else. We are normal.
Are you hopeful today when you heard what the Chief Justice said today? Does that bring you great hope?
We are very hopeful, and we have a faith in the court.
All right. Well, fingers crossed on this. Let's see what happens over the next couple of days or so. And we don't know yet when the order will come. It has to be sometime before the Chief Justice retires in early October. So in the next few weeks, hopefully. Thank you to all of you for joining us on this key issue.